If you're curious about how Google Ads can grow your business in 2026, this video is for you. I'm not going to be diving into a lot of the specifics or some of the more advanced techniques. I'm really just going to be going over the basics of what local businesses should understand about using Google Ads to get more local customers this year. I'm going to be covering a few things that other YouTube videos may not have covered because you actually need more than just Google Ads to make Google Ads work for your business. By the end of this video, you should have a really solid understanding about exactly what you need to run an effective Google Ads campaign and really crush your goals this year when it comes to customer acquisition. For those of you that are new, my name is David Jackson. I own and run a digital marketing company called Tekkii, where we help local service-based businesses scale their customer acquisition using digital marketing strategies. So without further delay, this is Google Ads for Local Businesses 2026, the basics. Okay, so to start off, what is Google Ads? You probably already know what Google Ads is, but I'm going to go over it here again. Google Ads is one of the best ways to acquire customers through online advertising because you're not interrupting them, you're not showing up when they're scrolling, you're actually meeting them when they have an intent to buy your specific service. I type in dentist near me, and these are some of the results I get in my area. They show up at or near the top of Google, and they receive a pretty good amount of clicks, but they receive high intent clicks. The clicks that these ads receive are customers that are looking to buy. The difference between Google Ads and SEO is that Google Ads, like I mentioned, show up much higher than SEO. We can see here that we have two ads, and then we also have an ad for the maps. Now, SEO does include these other map listings and some of the results down here, but as you can see, for traditional SEO, you have to scroll about 50% of the way down the page, which most customers aren't really going to do. And for maps, a lot of people do prefer the maps, and I have separate videos on how to show up higher on maps, but there are a lot of customers that do stop at the sponsored results and the sponsored map results. So running Google Ads is very effective for getting in front of someone first when they have a need. One other difference between ads and SEO is SEO is going to take time to start working. Ads, they are much faster. You turn them on, they start working same day, if not the next day. Anyway, let's talk about the 5 parts of a successful Google Ads system. Most people think that Google Ads is just setting up an ad and running it and people are going to click. There's actually a lot of components to running a successful Google Ads campaign. If one is missing, the campaign could suffer as far as performance is concerned. Those 5 components are the campaign itself, which is something like what we see here. The next component is actually the landing page. Someone is going to see the ad, they're going to click on it, and they're going to go to a page that looks something like this. The next component is actually the speed to lead automation. So when someone submits a form or they call or do something like that, we need to get back to them as soon as possible. And a lot of local businesses are just busy. They don't get back to leads right away. But this is the prevailing expectation. There's a million different programs out there, but we prefer this program when it comes to setting up those automations. Essentially, someone fills out the form. They're going to receive an email, but then they're also going to receive a text message right away. It'll convince them to book an appointment. It'll remind them of appointments. It'll do all of that manual labor that you don't have to do. You can just set the system up, and then the system takes it from there towards getting them to actually have a higher chance of converting. After that, there's display remarketing. So basically, we want to retarget people that clicked on the ad so that if they didn't take action, we can come back with another advertisement to try and remind them of our services, remind them of what we do, and remind them of our offer, and maybe even give them an additional offer to get them to come back. The reason we want to do this is because when someone clicks on our ad, we paid for that. And so we don't want them to just leave and go somewhere and never return. This is very effective, and it helps you make the most out of your budget in every single click. And then the final part of this is conversion tracking. We need to track all of the numbers. We need to track everything that's going on with your campaign. So how many clicks, how much did we spend, how many conversions, what are the types of conversions. Now, again, there's a lot of different programs for this. This here is Looker Studio, but There are a lot of different ways you can track your conversions and what's going on. So just to recap how all of that works. Someone's going to type in a keyword. It's going to be high intent for a service. They're going to click on an ad, and when they click on that ad, they're going to be taken to your landing page. Your landing page is going to be set up to give additional information surrounding that term. After they call or fill out a form, there should be a sequence that nurtures them automatically without your involvement. That ensures a very consistent experience for every type of lead. After that, we need to retarget them with different ads that show up all over the internet. They look something like this. And we need to report that happened. We need to know this conversion came in, here's where it came from, this is how much it cost. You need to have all of those components in place for a successful Google Ads campaign. It's not just about setting up the ad or just putting something in place, sending it to your website. You need to be very strategic with how all of these things work together and how you're tracking it. Now, unfortunately, this is where a lot of local businesses get this wrong. Before running Google Ads, you need to know if you're ready. Many local businesses, depending on your industry, have very high cost per clicks. If your budget is too small and spread too thin, it's probably not going to work. With lower budgets, you really need to focus in your effort. This usually comes down to what service you're targeting, what location you're targeting, what your offer is going to be, and then what that lead is actually worth to your company. Let's talk about those components of a basic plan just a little bit here. You may be in a big metro area, but you don't need to target that entire area because that would spread your budget too thin, especially if you don't have the money to keep up with that. Additionally, you need to think about how far someone is willing to actually drive. For dentists, customers really would only want to drive about 15 minutes max. If you're a contractor, you may be able to get away with a 30-minute drive. After that, think about the service you want to target. This may also help you reduce your costs at the beginning. Let's take a plumber, for example. If you advertise for the keyword plumber near me, you're going to be paying quite a bit of money. You're going to pay anywhere from $40 to sometimes $80 depending on your market per click. Now, instead of going for that keyword, you may want to go for something like sump pumps. Sump pumps may have a lower cost per click and be a lot easier to compete on, especially if you're just starting out and have a smaller budget. After that, think about your offer. Do we want to give a first-time customer offer? Do we want to talk about a special? Just whatever you can think of that would help entice that click. Really think about how that offer looks and how it's going to translate into your overall plan. If I go back to the ads, you can also see some of the text that they use in their campaigns. Sometimes you'll see an offer, sometimes you won't, but that's just another great resource. And then let's not forget, you can always ask ChatGPT to give you some ideas on a good offer. Let's talk about how to know how much you really need to spend when it comes to Google Ads. So there's two ways to do this, and I'm going to show you the way that's tedious first, and then I'm going to show you the easy way. If you don't have the budget to spend on Google Ads based on these two methods I'm going to show you, then you probably should not do Google Ads at this time because it's very unlikely to work. The first way is free and the second way costs a little bit of money, but both ways are very effective. First, you're going to need to go into what's called the Keyword Planner. This is free within Google Ads. You just come to Tools, Planning, and then Keyword Planner. After that, you will narrow your area. I'm going to go ahead and do Kansas City. And then you type in a term that you would ideally want your business to show up for if someone was searching. Most of the time, that's just whatever you are near me. So let's just do dentist near me. What you're going to get is a list of different keywords. Now, you don't always have to do near me. You can also do teeth whitening services. You can do plumbing repair. You can do furnace installation. You can do whatever you need to, but what you're going to get is a bunch of related keywords. So there's a lot of data here, but really we're only looking at a few things. We're looking at, of course, the keyword itself, and then we're looking at top of page bid, high and low range. So this is why I say this is a little more involved, because what you're going to want to do is select all of the keywords that you'd want to show up for. So you can check the boxes, add them to a plan, and then you'll see them here on saved keywords. From here, you can actually download this, and then within an Excel spreadsheet, you're going to want to average out the cost for each keyword. Let's say that I'm working with dental implants near me. I'm going to take $888 and then $34.61, add them together, divide it by 2, and then boom, I have my average. So it's about $21.75. So that tells me that if I want to get a click for this keyword, on average, I'm going to need to pay about $21.75. So that was just for one keyword. There are a lot of variations of that term that will bring that average down a little bit. What you can do is you can take that specific key term, retype it in, and then they're going to show you more keywords. So again, the more you add and the more different terms you add, it could bring your average down. But let's just say that term was $21.75. What we're going to want to do is multiply that number by 5, and we're going to receive a number. And this number is the bare minimum of what we would want to spend per day on Google Ads if we're advertising for those services. So if we were looking to get more dental implants, we would ideally need to be spending $108.75 per day at a minimum. The reason for this is because getting about 5 clicks a day for a particular service is about where you want to be. It's not going to work if you're only getting 1 or maybe 2 clicks a day for a particular term, and 5 is even cutting it close. Now you can do that for 10 clicks a day, you can do that for 15 clicks a day, but this is just a good rule of thumb to figure out, okay, is this actually going to work? If you can't do at least 5 clicks a day, it's probably not going to be good to run Google Ads, at least for that service. Just to recap, you can add more keywords to your pool to bring that average down. So I'm going to show you a pretty easy way to get this figured out without too much work. This is a tool called Splashdsh. This tool allows you to type in a keyword and a location. So for instance, interior painting in Overland Park. This is really great information because this tells me that I can spend as little as $500 as a painting company and get about 3 conversions. Now conversions are the leads, and it really comes down to whether you can close them or not as far as if that's going to be successful and if that's enough opportunities coming to you every month that would actually make a difference in your business. But you can at least get a very quick idea about what you should be spending and what the expected results might be. This tool is great because it tells you about how much you should be spending at a minimum before you should even try to do Google Ads. So to wrap this up, let's talk about the roadmap and the top goals for running a Google Ads campaign that should apply to every local business out there. Your number one goal with ads in the first 90 days is to get the following average numbers as quickly and efficiently as possible. First is your click-through rate. This is how many times your ad gets clicked on versus how many times it's shown when somebody types in the keyword that you want. Number 2 is your cost per click. Basically, how much do you pay every time somebody clicks on your ad? Number 3 is your cost per conversion. So if you had 10 clicks and they were $10 each, but you only got 1 conversion out of that, that means that your cost per conversion is $100. Next is your conversion rate. So how often are you converting versus how many clicks you have? 1 in 10, that's 10% conversion rate. What's your close rate? Now this is something that's more internal to your own business and your company. It has to do with your sales team, it has to do with your process, it has to do with your internal flows. But out of all of the leads you get, how many of them actually close and turn into customers? Most businesses don't even track that when they're running ads. Next up is what's your average value per customer? On average, how much is that customer going to spend whenever they do become a customer? And then number 7 is the return on ad spend, which you'll figure out after you know how much money you're actually making from running the ad. So the reason I say 90 days is because I think that 90 days is a good amount of time to figure out these averages. You always want to be looking at these numbers, and you always want to be adjusting your ads based on those numbers, because this is essentially a formula to understand how much you need to spend on Google Ads and know how many customers you will receive. If I were setting up a brand new Google Ads campaign, I would go through these exact steps. So 1, set realistic goals. So that's understanding, where do I want to advertise, what service do I want to advertise, what's my offer, and then what is my expected outcome from advertising those services. Number 2 is to set a realistic budget. I need to use the keyword planner or tools like Splashdsh to understand, what do I realistically need to spend to actually make this work instead of just wasting all of my money. Number 3, that's building your campaign. So I need to set up the actual campaign itself, but I also need a landing page. I also need a nurture sequence. I need remarketing, and then I need tracking. You're probably not going to have as effective of a Google Ads campaign in terms of actually making your money back if you don't have all of those things in place. Now, after I get everything up and running, I want to be running that campaign for 90 days, and I want to check it very frequently. I want to be checking my click-through rate. If it's low, that means there's either a problem with the keywords I've chosen or my ad copy. I want to check my conversions and my conversion rate. If my conversion rate is low, that means the landing page is probably not that great. I want to check my close rate. Now, your close rate being low could be a number of different things. Is our sales process good? Is our nurture process good? Are we getting back to the customer quick enough? And then lastly, the customer value. Are we actually making enough money versus what we're spending to get the customer? As you get more data, as you see the numbers change, that's when you can truly start to scale your Google Ads and have it be a very strong asset in your customer acquisition. Now, if you're already running a Google Ads campaign and this was helpful to you, you'll really like the video where I point out some of the biggest mistakes that people make with their Google Ads campaign. You can click to watch it right here, and I'll see you in that video.